everybody. This is Eric at Learn Design with Eric, and this week we're going to take a little tour on Premiere Pro. I had a subscriber of mine that had asked about Premiere Pro and how to edit videos, and I told her that I'd be happy to look at her stuff and actually edit with her, kind of show her how to edit her own stuff rather than editing my own video, which I do all the time, obviously, and just kind of show her some of the basics of how to set up the application with the palettes and all that stuff, and then also how to just do some basic things like literally cutting the video, kind of pushing things back together, maybe overlaying some music in the background or those kinds of things. So I'm just going to take a quick look at how to do some basics in Premiere Pro.
Good morning, everybody. It is the first week in February, and you saw a few days ago my midnight video when I finished the Boro scarf. My first big project in my new technique adventure of reusing, repurposing, and finding a way to integrate the beautiful scraps from my beautiful work into new beginnings is one way I like to think of it. So in this video, you're going to get to see a little bit of that process. I just finished doing some stitching that's actually on another piece, but we're gonna put it in here so you can see one of the stitch techniques I look at and watch me stitch for a little while. And this video will be a montage of different stages that project was in and how I was thinking about it throughout the process. I want to thank Eric, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Eric Fischnaller, for putting these clips together for me, and I'm learning how to do it, so he's doing this so that I can learn how to do it, and he is awesome. You should subscribe to his channel and subscribe to what he's doing because he's a great artist and a great teacher, and so follow him. And so thank you for that. And so I hope you enjoy watching this. And if you do, please hit the like button and subscribe. And you can find me at followcarollebaron.com.
Hello, everybody. This is Eric at Learn Design with Eric. And today we're going to do a Premiere Pro project. And we're going to kind of walk through from the beginning because I'm actually doing this for a viewer and I want to kind of show her the whole shoot and match. So we're going to start by creating a new project by pushing this button right here. And I am going to save it to the folder that I'm doing this for, Video 6 Premiere Pro. Select that folder. And it's going to pick, I've been using this same setup for a while. I'm going to go ahead and name this. This is Carol's project. And time code is going to be just the standard display format. All this stuff's going to stay the same. I'm not going to change this at all. And we're going to say OK. And I'm just going to walk you through the palettes that I'm currently using. So I am in the effects version of the window. So there's different editing options here. See all these different options. So I always use effects. I don't know why. It's just what I'm the most familiar with. And so that's what I use. And so all of the effects options are over here on the right. Note to self, I have this ultra-wide monitor. So I have a 34-inch ultra-wide. It's a 21:9 aspect ratio monitor. So you're going to notice on this video, I'm not going to clip it out or anything. You're going to have black bars on the top and bottom on the video on YouTube, and that's because of my monitor width. So just be aware of that. Don't be alarmed. It's not a video or a movie. So anyway, you can create your own workspace in here as well. You can save as a new workspace. I probably should do that, but it's just a default effects workspace. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to create a new sequence. And I create my sequences in DSLR, so digital SLR, 1080p, DSLR, 1080p, 24. That means 24 frames per second. That's kind of, it's a little, it's like a movie setting that is often used. and progressive scan, which means there's no interlacing. And I'm just going to change this again to Carol's project. And I'm on a PC here, so I'm not putting in spaces or other weird characters because it'd probably have a cow on my computer if I did. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to import the various assets for this thing. So I'm going to go to the videos. This is where I've got all of this stuff stored. It's in the Video 6 Premiere Pro thing here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull down all of Carol's videos. And I'm also going to pull down these music pieces that I found and purchased. And FYI, I purchased my music from Soundstripe. I actually have a subscription to Soundstripe. And I think it's like $15 a month or something like that. They have two different options. They have like a music-only version, and then they have a music and special effects version, which is, I guess, good if you had, if you were doing like movies and you wanted to have different, or videos where you wanted to have like punching sounds or, you know, claps or that kind of thing. I don't want any of that stuff. So I just want a little bit of background music to listen to. And you can pick by mood, you can pick by all kinds of stuff. So really high quality audio, and you can just kind of sick through there and see what you find. Or you could, you know, go to Hopeful. I mean, there's all kinds of things. You can change by instrument. There's just all kinds of options. You can see the duration here. And within these, let me stop that for a second so you can hear. Within these, there are shorter segments that you can use as well that are instrumental versions. So there's all kinds of options. And the cool thing is with the service, once I license it, even if I cancel the service, I'm still licensed to it. And there's no duration on that license, which is really nice. So it's, you know, you buy it, you keep it sort of thing. And when you do license it, just to show you, you'd name your title, so whatever you're doing there. And then these are kind of the options. So you've got, I use this one, social media, YouTube content, because that's what I'm doing. But if you were doing advertising or a wedding video or whatever, you do all that stuff and then you generate the license. And you can kind of see how it works. Single use of this music will work on one video project. So you can make another one. If you want to use the same music again and again, just make another one, make another one, make another one, piece of cake. So really cool. And you can go in and see what you've purchased, you know, your licenses. So if you want to make another one. So these are the two I just bought for this project, Premiere Pro Video, Carol. So yeah, that's that piece of art, musician video stuff that I do. And I'm going to go ahead and open this. So it'll import all of those assets. And she took this in a number of different clips. So we're going to start off with this one because that's kind of her intro. So let's see, we're going to, I think, so when I import it, it's going to automatically detect the size of this clip. So she's shooting at 1080, 1920 by 1080 at 59.94p. I'm going to go ahead and keep my existing settings. We'll see what that does. If her file is massive ginormous, then I might have to adjust my sizing or something. But we'll see what it looks like. So let's see if... No, it's the same. It looks good. So essentially what I've already kind of pre-watched these videos, so I kind of know what's on them a little bit, just to kind of cut down on time here. So I'm going to go ahead and... The first thing I'm going to do is queue up to where Carol actually comes into the frame. So there she is right there. And you can, by the way, hit the space bar to like stop and start things and be able to hear what's going on. And so she's kind of moving around here. So I'm going to go ahead and get it queued up to where I want it to start. And ideally, just for myself, I like to get into position and wait like a good 4 or 5 seconds before I start talking, because that way I'm already centered in the frame when I start. It's easy to cut it out. But as it is, she's actually started talking while she's still moving, so I'm going to have to back this up. And we're going to see a little of this, her moving around thing. Nothing we can do about it. She will get better as she learns how to video more. So I'm using the razor tool here to cut the video. So I'm going to slice that off. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this. I hit the delete key to remove it. And then I'm going to drag it back to the far left. That's going to bring me into the very beginning of the video. And because she's moving around so much, I'm going to use a video transition. So dissolve is a good place to start. So I'm going to dip to black at the beginning of this. That's going to kind of look a little bit more natural as she comes in. And also if there was a lot of audio here, and so this slider right here actually controls the whole sequence at the bottom. And if you tighten it up, it makes it it's like zooming in, okay? So this is zooming out, this is zooming in. So I'm zooming in because I want to see where her audio starts and make sure that it's not making a lot of noise because I don't want to have a bunch of noise at the beginning of the video. So see, I'm getting audio right there where she's moving around. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this out just a bit because I don't want to have a bunch of audio like peaks and stuff before we start seeing her and start hearing her. So I'm going to actually go ahead and also do that similar thing, audio transitions, crossfade, exponential fade. So I'm going to exponentially fade this. And then when you want to actually fade it a little bit more, you can bring it up some more. So what that's going to do is going to start at 0 on the audio. So we're not going to get these, I don't know if you can see those little peaks right there. There's just little teeny peaks right in that area right there. So we're not going to get those anymore. The audio is going to just fade in. And also when you're doing audio editing, just to note, you're going to want your peaks to hit about right here at the most. You're not going to want to see these little things here turn red. If these turn red, that means you're clipping. Clipping is bad. It just means your audio is going to suffer. So I'm going to take a quick scan through this. I can see the actual channels right here. And just make sure that there's nothing that's getting up close to the top of this. If it's up at the top, that means it's going to clip. So everything looks good. That's good. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this back out so I can see more of it. And I've already kind of watched this. So I'm not going to take the time to go through everything she's saying here. Let's see here. That is about me. Let's make sure we're not going to cut anything out. Okay, so that's where she kind of stops what she's saying. You can tell she gets up and pushes off the camera there. Let's see. All right, so we're going to cut that right there. So we're going to use that same razor tool again. Just slice that baby off. I'm going to delete this right here. Again, hitting the delete key. It's the same on the Mac or the PC. And by the way, if I use a quick key on here, I will go ahead and let you guys know what it is in PC, and then later on when I edit my video, I will go in and tell you what it is on the Mac, just so you know. Okay, so the next thing, that was kind of her intro piece, and it's 1:44, so not too long, which is good. And now we're gonna I'm gonna put this reverse applique in here because this is really cool. It's kind of like, she shows how to do a special technique in her stitch. You can kind of see it right here. Basically, from what I could tell, and again, this is not my expertise level, this is her thing, but essentially she's cut a hole in this piece of fabric here, and then she puts pieces inside and then stitches them together. It looks really cool. And like this one's just a hole where it's showing through this piece here, but there's this green inside this purple. So there's multiple voids that she's created to kind of create this really neat layering effect. And so that's what she's going to kind of show here. And there's some audio from her cell phone. Somebody's texting her or something. So we're going to want to have that gone, obviously. So let's see where that is. That's right there. So we'll just do the same thing we did before. I'll probably just start the audio or the video right here. I'll just probably just cut that out because it's easier to cut it out than to fade it and have it be like a super long silence. So we'll just nuke that. And again, I'm just going to bring this over tighten that up. And when it gets to the point where it's going to touch, you're going to see little arrows. That's kind of an indicator that you've made a good merge, that things are connecting. You'll see also this yellow line at the top, this timeline here. It's also going to connect. See that? Okay, so, and since we have a pretty hard cut, see that? I think what I'm also going to do is do a little crossfade action on this thing. So I'm going to bring this up. So that what I'm doing is I'm moving this is the first timeline that I had. And then these are like layers, kind of like in Photoshop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bit of a crossfade here. So I'm going to tighten those together. And it's going to want to snap to wherever this is. So if you want to move it a little further out, then just go ahead and move the timeline selector here, and then it'll snap to that when you move these. And I'm going to do an actual crossfade on the audio, just in case there's any little bit of audio there. So I'm going to do a constant gain crossfade. And that's going to keep the gain at the same level that it was at before, which is fine because there's really nothing there, so it should be a non-issue. And then I'm also going to do a cross dissolve on this. And what that's going to do, and this is video again, so what that's going to do is it's going to kind of dissolve. This is going to stay static, and I'm only dissolving what's on top. So you'll kind of see, let me show you that. See that right there? So it fades out her face and then gets us to the new one. And it's very quick. It's like a very quick segment. See that? So here she is talking. Now, something I did notice is I was watching this earlier, because like I said, I watched a good portion of this so that I didn't have to take a lot of time while I was recording this video. But at one point, she's talking about something that's below the frame. And I believe that's right in here. So she's pointing at stuff, and you really can't see what she's talking about, which is a little rough because I'm wanting to see the stitches she's talking about. You can't see them. So I'm going to not have this segment be part of the video. That's where she talks about the back, which is really cool. The problem is that she's talking here. So this is important information she's talking about. And I want to keep that. And so what I think I'm going to probably do is I'm probably going to separate this audio track from this video track. And I'm going to put in some filler pieces of video from one of these other segments that she recorded and use the audio she's talking about here to hopefully make it feel a little bit more seamless. So that is going to be my objective. We will see if it works. It's always the fun part. So we're going to have to watch part of this. Let's see how this goes. So since I don't want to cut the audio, but I do want to cut the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the audio layer. So this layer right here, I'm going to lock. So I will not cut the audio when I then cut the video. So I'm going to cut the video right here. First thing I'm going to do is save. That's always a good call. So I'm going to cut the video right there, and then we're going to see where we're at. She's talking about stuff, and you can't see it. Okay, so that's about where you start to be able to see it. It's like right in here. It's not a very big segment where the problem is. I'm just going to zoom in a bit so I can see better with the audio here. Let's see. Okay, so right there. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. I'm going to cut it again. I'm still using that little razor tool. I'm going to not delete this yet. I'm just going to move it up to a new layer. I'm going to hide it so that I won't see it. And then I'm going to try to find something from one of these other clips that's going to fit in there and, look good. Or maybe, for that matter, I might even drag this back. I bet you I've got more video than I have audio. So maybe I will actually move this back. Let's see what that does. So again, we're going to fast forward here. Carol's going to definitely need to make sure that as she's watching, she's got an A6400 Sony, which is the same camera I use, and it has this really neat flip-up screen. So good call to, before you start working on your project, to just take a quick gander and make sure that it's seeing you the way you want it to be seeing you. And I have the same problem with my camera. Sometimes it's pointing a little bit further to the left than I want or to the right, and so I just kind of have to, before I start talking, so that's part of that part when I first sit down and look at the camera, make sure that it's framed upright, and then smile for a few seconds and kind of count to in your head 1 1,000, 2 1,000, and then start talking. And then that way, if you need to cut something out at the beginning, like when you're sitting down at your chair, good to go, no problem. It's very easy to cut. And you can make sure that your hand's in the frame, which is really good. I love to see what she's talking about here, though. It's really cool. You know, it makes me wonder if this thing isn't. No, it's not. So what I was doing there was using the FX Motion, FX Control. So when I'm selected on a clip, whether it's an audio clip, see how I've got volume choices there, or a video clip. So I've got motion choices. I've got position, scale. I can rotate it. I can, you know, affect opacity. See that? So there's all kinds of, you can even time remap. You can change the speed if you want. It can be kind of funny to listen to people's voices when you change the audio or the audio speed. Yeah, you can make them sound like they're on some sort of fun stuff or something. Just trying to shorten this in segments where I can't see much anyway, and just, you know, be conscious of people's time as they're watching videos on YouTube. Okay, so that was a pretty harsh one. We're going to go ahead and put a crossfade in there because I'm not a fan of those huge jumps like that. So let's do that. We're going to do a cross dissolve. Oh, wow. I'm zoomed out a lot farther than I thought I was. So that being said, we're going to go ahead and bring this way back. And we'll do a constant power fade. Similarly to that, we're going to bring this back. So this is the fade itself. So if you want a longer fade, you can just go up in here. Sometimes you can grab it down in here, but other times it doesn't cooperate very well. So if you want to make a longer crossfade, you can do that. And I like to have my crossfade and my audio fade be roughly the same. Okay, so I am gonna tighten this up a bit. So I'm gonna actually, because I want to have that, what she's talking about makes sense with the picture. So I'm gonna actually cut this bottom one, but not the top one. And I'm gonna just delete that. And then I'm gonna bring this in here in an effort to try to get these to line up a bit better. Actually, probably what I ought to do, because this piece and this piece should line up, is go to there, and then you can drag this back, and that will reveal what you've just cut. So now she's talking about exactly what she is doing. I think maybe I might move this whole mess, not CD01, but I might move this whole mess back in the timeline and put this, tighten that together so I can move it past it, and maybe put it right here. And if you remember right, we actually did a crossfade right there because of the way she was kind of pausing the video. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. And I'm going to just bring this over the top just a touch. And I'm going to zoom in so I can see it. Yep, we've actually got a fade right there. So I'm going to bring that back just a bit. And cross dissolve it. There we go. See what that does for me. And then we're going to do 03. See how long that is? It's really long. Okay, we'll keep it out there. If just so you know, if I drop it right here, it'll literally cover up what I've already worked on. So I don't want to do that. So I'm dropping it right here, and it's going to automatically kind of snap to the end of the previous video. So here we're back in here. I'm not even 100% sure that this makes sense there, so I might put this somewhere else, you know, out here. Maybe I'll just move it out of there for now. And let's do this. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, so somewhere in here she's gonna kind of give her pitch about her channels and such, and we don't want to do that again because she's already talked about that. And we're hearing the other piece because it's in there and the audio segment is going to pick it up. So I'm going to move it out of here. Just going to back it up a bit so that I'm not hearing both because it's distracting. Save and okay, so we're not going to have that. Okay, that's probably about as good as it gets. So now I think it's good time to bring in this reverse stitch stuff that we've got. So I'm going to bring it up there until we see the little, no, I guess we're not seeing the snap because I'm too close to the edge. There's the little kind of little triangles that you see there. Tells you that you're snapping into place. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to use this part where she's outside. I may just not use it. We'll see. So this is the reverse stitch stuff. And more of it. There we go. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to use that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Save. And then what is 4? 4 is what I already used. That's that intro. Right. Well, maybe not. 4. Oh, this is like she recorded a video at midnight or something. I don't know if we're going to do this one. And then we're going to bring this up. This is kind of like at the very end of her finishing the project, she recorded this other video. So I'm going to just bring it in there just a bit. I'm going to use a cross dissolve here at the very end of that. Actually, I guess I need to go a little bit closer so I can see what I'm doing. Because I need to move this out. And then I'm also going to do an exponential fade on that. And so at the very first shot, she was really close to the camera. And she, you know, was further out, and that's okay because she was working. And then you had this kind of up close work here and more. And then now she's really far out. And you're seeing all this black hair and this wall's mostly empty. So there's nothing really of interest. I'm more interested in seeing her and maybe this part right here. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to zoom in. And in theory, you're going to lose a little bit of quality on the video, but it's not even going to really be noticeable. Or shouldn't be too much noticeable. So I moved it in to 160%, basically. And now I'm going to move it to the right to kind of recenter her. And I'm going to move it up. So, like in this case, see how her head's kind of going out, and I don't like that? So maybe I want to have her, that's scale. So let's not do scale, let's do position. So at this position, so she's away from the camera. Let's do this. Okay, so right here, she's in a good position. And then at a certain point, there we go, she moves in. So what I'm going to do is start this here. I'm just going to drag that to that point right there. And then she gets up close to the camera, and what I want to do is kind of pan it down a bit, so I'm not cutting off her head, but also so I'm not cutting off the element that she's trying to show. So I'm going to create another time by hitting this keyframe point. So it's added another keyframe. So this is kind of the starting point of where it's at, and this is the keyframe. And then we're going to drop it down. I'm just going to drag it to the right. I'm clicking on that second. So this is up and down, or this is right and left, and this is up and down. So I'm going to go down, drag it to the right to go down. So I'm not going too low, but you'll kind of see what happens here, right? Well, I'll just hit play. So see how it's kind of subtly moving right now? It's very subtle, but... And then it'll stay right there, and it will not move again. So it's moved from 398 up to 572 or 581, and then it stays at 581. So it starts at 398, and then during this part right here, you can see kind of the camera movement. It's just very subtle, but it's moved at that point. And then I'm also going to want to drop it back down right around here, so as she starts to kind of sit down again. So I'm going to add another keyframe right here. That's at 581. And then what I'm going to do is look and see where she sits down. And I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to put 398. So we're going to kind of just pan the camera. See that subtle pan the camera there? It's kind of happening while she's sitting down, so it's almost like somebody's like panning it to follow her, which is fine. And then kind of the last segment, and the last thing to do here, in my opinion, is it's always better to have audio underlayment if you can. It just creates a much better emotional experience. So what we've got here is we've got something that is like 17 minutes long. It's pretty long. And what I picked out music-wise is only like 2 minutes long per. So there's a couple ways you can do this. Well, first of all, let's see what this sounds like, right? So let's toss it in here. And it's kind of like piano music, and it's pretty loud. It's going to be really loud, like it's going to be up in the peak. See that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it quieter because it's too loud. So I've selected on this element, not on any of these other elements, but on this element. And I'm just going to take the level, and I'm going to make it like minus 22. So it's going to make it a lot quieter. Perfect. I think that's a winner. All right, so then the last thing to do at this point is to put in a title of some sort. And I generally would just do a real simple title, not get too crazy. And you can just do that with the type tool right here. And you can just literally just drag it right on the screen. So let's go ahead and put our cursor right in here where we're starting. And let's put it down here. And Carol LeBaron. Like that, I think is how it's spelled again. I'll confirm. Good to confirm these things. The Boro scarf. Maybe we'll do the Boro scarf as the bigger type. And I think in this case, I'm just going to use, so the type is right here in graphics. So we've got type, and we can do whatever font we want, except for Mistral. We'll never use that font because that's a terrible idea. I'm going to probably use like, I don't know, I think a serif makes some sense for what she's doing here. At the same time, maybe something a little bit more playful. Let's see here. Let's see what I got. I got a lot of choices here. Ubuntu. I think Ubuntu is a nice choice. Let's do medium. It's kind of a playful sans serif. I was trying to tighten that up a bit. It's a little bit wide right there. Okay, so the Boro scarf, and I'm just gonna grab my selection tool again, and I'm gonna bring this in, And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom this in a bit so I can see the timeline better. I'm going to make this thing like, see as I'm dragging it, it's getting longer. So this is like 0 time. I'm going to make it like, I don't know, 5 seconds long or something. Okay, so we're going to bring this up. I'm going to make this a little bit longer, because then I'm going to make another one. Paste. Oops, see, that's what I don't like. It does that weird stuff sometimes. Paste. So you just have to lock the layer you don't want it to affect, and then it won't paste there because it can't. And then what I'm going to have it do is I'm going to have the Boro scarf come in, and then I'm going to have her name come in right below it, just slightly after. But you're not seeing it because it's actually in the same exact spot as the Boro scarf. So I'm going to bring it down. And then I'm also going to change the size because I don't want it to be so thick and big. So I'm going to actually make it regular weight, or maybe even lightweight. Let's see what light looks like. Light's better. And we're going to change the size of this type by a bit. And we might even change the density a bit too. That's 100 point. Let's make it 70 point. That's about right. And then we'll change the position of it a little bit. And we'll change the actual type as well. Carol LeBaron. And then we're going to have it end at the same time as the other part. So it's going to come in slightly later. So watch this. And what I'd really like to do in a perfect world, you see how the other one actually flaps in right as this key hits, this keynote hits? Listen to that. See how it pops in right as the note hits? That's kind of an ideal world. So maybe what I'll do is I'll have this last for like 2.5 notes, and I'll have Carol's name pop in right as that second note hits. And then I'll have it end at the same time. So let's see what that looks like.
Good morning, everybody. It is the first week in February, and you saw a few days ago my midnight video when I finished the Boro scarf. My first big project in my
So I think what I want to do maybe is fade those out just a little bit. So we're going to do cross dissolves on both of those to fade them out as the note's getting quieter, because I think that's going to look good. It's a winner. Okay, so that is essentially the editing process for this type of a video. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. And we've got Carol's project here. The last thing is to export it so you can make it into a movie, basically upload it to YouTube or put it on a DVD or whatever you're going to do with it. So I'm going to export media, and what it's going to do is, and it's notice that the timeline is where I had it before. So this is where it's at now, okay? And you're going to output the output name is going to be whatever it is, and I'm going to go ahead and save this into that same folder, Video 6 Premiere, Carol's project. In this case, I'm going to call it the Boro scarf, Carol LeBaron. I always like to be real specific about what I'm calling things. And save. We're going to export audio and video. That's always defaulted. And it already gives you the specs. So 1920 by 1080, 23.976 FPS. That's frames per second. And everything else kind of stays the same. These are just there's a lot of options for setting up settings in here, but we don't need to do any of those because everything's perfect as it is. Now, if there was black frame on it, like on the side, you'll see sometimes, you can cut that out by using this crop the output video. And you could see how I can crop that? I'm not going to do it, obviously, but I just wanted to show you how that's done. And so then we just hit export. Now you can go to Q if you want, and it'll go to the Adobe Media Encoder queue if you want to do that. If you're doing a whole bunch of videos all at the same time, that's a good strategy. But since I'm just doing the one, I'm going to go ahead and just hit export immediately with the current settings and hit export. And then it's going to take, in this case, about 5 minutes. So that is how you do it. That's how you edit your own videos using Premiere Pro, using just some kind of real basic techniques. And I just thank you guys all for watching. And this is Eric at Learn Design with Eric.